I want to know what your worst gig is so far.
Oh my God, worst gig. Okay, well, I've already told you about the one where I was asked to get off stage. But once again, that was down to me being shit-faced. I've got a bunch of them. I've got a load of being shit-faced.
Is it one particular one?
Okay, there is one that isn't. It wasn't even down to me being drunk. It was just a terrible bloody gig. I'm not going to name any names because I think that's, it's not the booker's fault. It was a venue issue. So I went down. Also, I got the gig because Jack Hunt Spivey was meant to do it, and he was meant to open. So he was doing like 15, 20 minutes. But he's a professional athlete. He had another commitment in which he couldn't risk, contracting COVID, and he was going on the train because it was in Birmingham. And I said I'd take it, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, man! I'm opening as well. This was my first open spot." I was like, if Jack was going to do it, it must be a good gig. So like a bloody idiot, I tell my mates, I get my best mate and I get my girlfriend, and I'm like, guys, we're going to Birmingham. And we drive to Birmingham, and we go in, and the mic, it's a huge room. Like there's a pool table there, there's a load of tables and chairs by the bar. And then they set the mic up in the corner. And the MC goes up and he's sort of saying, all right, we're going to do some comedy. And the entire audience of people were sat by the bar on the tables and chairs having conversations, and it chose to not acknowledge the comedy, no matter how much he said, hey, and it was clear they weren't going to shut up. So he carried on and he brought me up, and I went up, and there was like my girlfriend sat there, like, and it was so embarrassing just seeing her see me like that. And my mate was there, and then there was just a room of people not listening, and they were drunk, they were from Birmingham. Like it was one of those, and they were all just talking. And I think I tried to say like hi, and I should have now with my experience, I would have stuck at them and said, hey, you got to listen and try and involve them. But I was too scared, so I just turned over to like the three other people that were sat near where my girlfriend was sat and just directed it sort of to them. But the entire time there was this conversation, there was just shouting from these lot. I'm there just awfully going through terrible material as well because I hadn't prepared enough. So I was thrown off by that. My material was shit. I was performing terribly. The other comedians were trying to be encouraging, little smiley faces. When no one's laughing, but they're smiling. Yeah. And they were doing that. And then my girlfriend has a temper on her, and the fucking people that were shouting, she turns around and goes, shut the fuck up. And then I'm on stage, trying to be like, because I'm so non-confrontational. So I was like, hey, Georgia, stop, don't. So now not only am I the biggest pussy in the room, I'm now the pussy who's having to be defended by my girlfriend. And I have the microphone. And I'm being like, please don't. And then the table next to her, he's like telling her, no, you do it. You stand up for your boyfriend. And I'm like, no, this is awful.
Oh, that's so awkward.
And then I had to do my fucking 20 minutes or whatever, and I was running out of material. So I then just started, I thought for some reason this would be a good idea. I said, oh, my friend Adam's sat over there. Here's a story about him. So I went into a true story that was never intended to be on stage about how me and him were on a bit of a drinking bender, and we ended up in a crack den. And there was a mother there who was clearly on spice or something. She was like collapsing, and her two kids were there. She had a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and both the kids were drinking. And we were like, because my friend had sold this to me, like, oh, there's a house party that I know about. Let's go. We get there, and it's just a dirty, grubby kitchen. This mum's unconscious. Two kids are sat there drinking, and there's a drug dealer sat at the table. And we're like, what the hell's going on? So, I'm sitting there talking to the kids, and one of the kids genuinely went, oh, watch this trick I can do. She went into the garden, she put her head flat and ran directly into the wooden fence. And me and the drug dealer were looking at each other going, this house is mental. And then all of a sudden, my mate disappears, my mate Adam, and bear in mind, I'm telling the story on stage to half silence and half conversations. And I'm trying to get through it. And basically, the crack whore, as I started to call her, was all over my friend Adam. Next thing I know, they're sneaking off upstairs. And me and this dealer are just left with these two kids. So we're like, this is wrong. We need to get out of here. So we send the kids off to bed. We put them in, like, took the booze off them. We're like, you can't, no, this is wrong. we put the kids to bed, and then we just went and sat outside while I waited for my friend to finish with the crack whore. And my friend the entire time is there like, why are you telling this story? Why did you give them my full name? What the hell? And I'm just there dying on my ass. And then the end of the story, and it's true, is we're waiting for him to come out, and then we hear the toilet flush, and then he comes downstairs and comes out. And and then I'm like, all right, how did that go? And he went, I'm fucking furious. And I went, why? And he went, so we were up there, we were getting going, and then I'm going down on her, and then I went up to kiss her, and she'd fallen asleep. And I was like, oh no, that is terrible. And I told this story, and then he sitting there going, stop saying this, stop saying this, stop saying this. And then he just took himself off and left. It was absolute chaos, and I don't know, man. I really don't know. And that was it. That was me telling that story to silence, and then a conversation, and my girlfriend fighting the audience. That was the worst gig I've ever done.
That sounds horrific.
It was awful, absolutely terrible. And that's when I decided I'm never going to start telling random stories that are not built for stage, on stage, or on a podcast.